The Javelin was really kind of a byproduct of we needed another capital ship supplied to the UEE in the game. We already had the Idris. We knew it was going to be Aegis manufactured, so I kind of wanted to extend the style and aesthetic of the Idris into the Javelin. Not only for the interior stuff but also the exteriors. So from a production point of view, the Javelin, we had the wealth of experience that we'd learned from developing the Idris, and really kind of we could almost kind of, so we say, hit the ground running. So there was a lot of similarities in the aesthetic and the general kind of design between the Idris and the Javelin. It's really about kind of taking that aesthetic and those spaces and recycling. You kind of hear me on about the 60-40 split, recycling about 60% of the Idris and then putting the 40% spin on the Javelin for the interiors. The exterior production wise is really a case of take what works on the Idris, the shaders and the textures and whatnot. The model is always going to be unique. There's kind of nothing you can do about that. But if I put the Idris next to the Javelin, like I say, the key result that I'm after is that they both look like they're from the same fleet. They're both from the same manufacturer, and really the production cycle of the Idris is pretty much the production cycle of the Javelin. They both go kind of hand in hand. When we started the Javelin, it was the first thing you have to do is the floor plan. We have to go through all the stuff that we need. So you got the gravity drive, the reactors, mess hall, barracks. So you have to kind of think about these things from the ground up when you're planning the interior layout of the ship. And what I'm really pleased about with the Javelin is that we managed to get 3 concise decks kind of planned out. So if you look at the ship from the side, the lower decks are engineering, and it's kind of very hot and sweaty and a workman's kind of place, right? And then you hit the mid decks, which is habitation, and that's, again, it's no mistake. You kind of first class on a Boeing is up front. There's no engine noise and stuff. The middle of the Javelin theoretically would be the quietest area of the ship. So that's all kind of laid out correctly. And then you go to the top deck, which is the technical area. So you've probably heard me talk about like the archetypes before, which is technical, engineering, habitation and medical. If you look at any kind of section of the Javelin from any angle, you can see clear, concise breakouts of those archetypes. They've all got their place, like an architect's designed it properly, right? And that's what you get from the Javelin, which I'm really pleased about, because then it means that you get this clear, concise cut between habitation, between engineering and between technical. Whereas some of the other ships, they kind of have fallen a bit where you'll go from a technical area into a habitation and back into a technical area. That doesn't happen on the Javelin. It's extremely like per deck. If one section of the ship gets damaged or goes down, it's very much like a huge cruise liner. So if that hull gets hit, it will shut itself down. So we've got these huge bulkheads with massive doors that kind of will just go, okay, you're out now, shut down, and then it's up for the engineer to start rerouting power. The Idris has this huge hangar that kind of runs through the center of the ship. The Javelin doesn't. It has like a very kind of small, almost like a utility hangar for a drop ship. It is cool though, the hangar, the best thing about the hangar is the floor. Dan ingeniously designed it. It pretty much kind of becomes the door. Essentially you have to land on a platform and then that platform lowers in, but that platform when it's up is actually the doors, quite cleverly. And when you're actually inside the hangar and you see everything kind of moving up from traffic control, it's pretty awesome. So the main differences between the Idris and the Javelin is we've obviously got the hangar space difference. It doesn't really kind of carry as many craft. It's not got its own utility vehicle, but it has got an awful lot of weaponry. The whole ship's pretty much kind of caked in turrets. And we've done this really cool thing on the back of the ship where the remote turrets that are actually on the track system. At the moment when you're flying towards a ship, you kind of don't know if a turret's in operation or not, unless it kind of goes down inside the hull or something like that. And not a lot of our remote turrets do that. But what we've done is we put the whole turret on a track system. So when they're not manned, they rotate back and go to the back of the ship between the thrusters, so they're in the most shielded area when they're not being used. But that way, as a player, when you're approaching one of these things, you know if it's got its turrets up in defence or not. These huge things have gone way past just being a very pretty asset. in space. They're completely functional, and they're also kind of extremely kind of fun to run around and have a shootout. So my background is FPS multiplayer maps. I run around ships looking at kind of gameplay, and how you can make interesting gunplay and all that kind of stuff, and making sure the level's balanced. On the ship production side of things, we've got to keep quite a few people happy. So obviously there's the backers who you know, without them none of this would happen, so we have to kind of take their feedback on board. We done the Big Guns trailer back in November, I think it was for CitizenCon, or around about that time. The ship has gone through a couple of design changes on the exterior since it first went out, simply because in the UK we have a habit of making things bigger, which has a domino effect to everything, which is certainly the case on this. There was a specific shot in that video that I'd done, and Toby done that one actually, and it showed the bridge, and of course there's a crossbar across the bridge, and it kind of was blocking the captain's view. If he would have to get to a certain point in the bridge to kind of see. So we saw the feedback on the forums, and we've gone back and remedied that, and we've taken that as an opportunity then to actually kind of generally just make the ship's bridge kind of feel a lot more kind of tangible, a lot better. And we've also got the cutscenes going in now for that stuff for Squadron. So with Hannes and myself, we're looking at it and how we can flood as much kind of natural light into these areas. So there's some very kind of cool windows that are turning up, and the Javelin is actually kind of far more so than the Idris has far more exterior views throughout the whole ship. I've actually put quite a significant amount of man hours into it, not myself, but the focus has shifted onto it, because we're at the point now where I pretty much kind of want to support design for the Squadron 42 side of things. And for us to be able to do that, the ship needs to be at a certain kind of point, okay? Because the Javelin plays an integral role for a part of Squadron, which I can't talk about, but yeah, it's pretty cool. We have to work with the writers on a daily basis. It's never as black and white as the writers will, kind of write something, we make it. It's very much a kind of a 50-50 thing. There's a lot of backwards and forwards. So, we may end up kind of blocking out a new area, and then that may kind of feed back into the script somehow, and into the writers doing something far more creative than what I would originally have kind of thought about. But it also works the other way. So the writers, they'll come up with ideas that feed our inspiration. This is where it gets really kind of complicated. So from an art production side of things, we hand the ship off to tech design. Tech design are then going to go and do their pass with obviously the balancing of the weapons, the balancing of the thrusters, the maneuverable thrusters. But then also with this, as I mentioned, it plays an integral role in Squadron. So the design team on Squadron are also kind of expecting a certain version of it, which we need to produce as well off the back of the PU version that's put together. It's just this kind of thing about kind of making a game or making an IP or anything along that lines in this industry is it's a very human thing that takes a lot of people from a lot of different disciplines to kind of get on and work together, and that's just a real kind of small part of that. It's challenging, but it's massively rewarding as well.